12 minutes past the hour.
Good morning. I'm Dan Rather in London. 40 years ago this week, the Great War in Europe came to an end. It simply isn't possible to summarize all of the ways in which that war changed the world. Tens of millions of lives were lost or shattered, and the map of the world was redrawn in ways few could have imagined. What is possible is to talk with an extraordinary group of men, the witnesses, the chroniclers, the war correspondents, the men historians will turn to try to understand one of the great tragedies in human history.
I'm just back from the biggest assignment that any American reporter could have so far in this war, covering the occupation of North Africa by American troops.
Walter Cronkite, United Press.
Hello, America. Hello, CBS. This is William L. Shirer speaking to you from Berlin.
William L. Shirer, CBS News.
This is Rome. The people of this ancient and still splendid capital have seldom celebrated such a riotous holiday as they did today.
Winston Burdett, CBS News.
The battle to clear the Rhineland has gone well this Sunday. Nothing sensational, but good steady progress all along the fronts with no setbacks anywhere.
Eric Sevareid, also of CBS News.
Look, for the time being at least, as if we won't be able to give you very much first-hand information on how things look and work on the Russian side of the line, because we're not allowed to go across the Elbe anymore.
Richard C. Hottelet, CBS News.
There was a mad scene of jubilant celebration on the east and west banks of the Elbe at Torgau today as infantrymen of Lieutenant General Hodges' 1st United States Army swapped K-rations for vodka.
Andy Rooney, Stars and Stripes.
Berlin, the capital of defeat, today is a charred, stinking, broken skeleton of a city.
Ernest Leiser, Stars and Stripes.
Germany surrendered at 2:45 on the morning of May 7th, 1945.
Charles Collingwood, CBS News.
It was Victory Day, a victory day that comes not many times in a lifetime. And this is London, returning you now to CBS in New York.
Douglas Edwards, CBS News. We brought these 9 men here to the Café Royal in London, where some of them dined and drank and gossiped. It was through their eyes and ears and voices that Americans saw and heard the Great War. Walter Cronkite, Charles Collingwood, Eric Sevareid, as you sit here and think about the war ending 40 years ago, what is the first memory that comes into your mind? Walter?
Good gracious, that's a long time ago, I think. Well, obviously that the relief that the killing was over, and I think there was a very subjective feeling on my part at least, that the possible killing of Walter Cronkite was over for a while.
Can you remember when you were most afraid?
Oh, which day would you like to have? 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 3 p.m.?
Tell me about the day when the gliders...
I think probably the most, well, I think the most frightening was I was caught in a ditch with Bill Downs, late Bill Downs of memory for all of us here. He and I were caught in a ditch in the Netherlands under very heavy fire. We just got too far advanced, as all of us did at one time or another. Got up there and they brought us under mortar fire and then small arms fire, and our driver and we too were in that ditch, and I didn't think there was any way out of that one. And we were there for quite a little while. Well, probably a minute. No, we were there some minutes, but it certainly seemed a lot longer than that. And I remember the only bright moment of it was Downs had a great indomitable sense of humor, and he tugged on my pants leg. I was lying in front of him in this ditch. He tugged on my pants leg, and I thought maybe he had some great solution for getting us out of there. And I'm turning around and shouting at him, what? And he said, just think. These are the good old days.
Winston Burdett, you said you knew a story on Eric Sevareid and the liberation of Rome.
Well, the liberation of Rome was one of those glorious days, those fleeting days, short moments in which all the hardships and sacrifices of the recent past give way to hope and expectation for the future. That mood does not last long. As to Eric, I remember particularly Eric in an open Jeep, sitting in front of an open Jeep in the motorcade as it moved down the narrow principal street of Old Rome. Eric, very splendid in army uniform, and the beautiful women of Rome, out in their finest dress for the occasion, and being particularly struck by Eric, applauding him, evidently mistaking him for the victory general.
My old man's memory fails entirely.
Charles Collingwood,
so often.
Charles Collingwood, you're laughing at that story about Eric Sevareid, but now who around this table knows the story of Collingwood's conquest of Paris when Paris was liberated? Any volunteers?
Well, I can't tell a story on Charles, but I came in August 24th, and I remember I was a good friend of Ernie Piles, and we got up to the balcony of the Grand Hotel, and there was this scene of wild jubilation below us, and everybody was hugging and kissing. And Ernie Pyle, who was not given to this kind of thought, looked down and he said, "Any man who doesn't sleep with a woman tonight is a sissy."
Well, it was quite a scene, I tell you that. They were fighting around the Place de la Concorde, so I said to Bill Walton of Time and Life, who was with me in the Jeep, let's go up and liberate Montmartre. So we did. Montmartre is full of gangsters, as you know, and they're very used to weapons. Well, they greeted us as heroes, and I was the only one who spoke even passable French, so I had to get out on the balcony of a hotel and make a speech to the crowd below, all these hoods.
What did you tell them, Charles?
Oh, I started out people of Montmartre. About the ties of amitié between our two great countries, historical ties. Oh, we had a splendid liberation.
We were a privileged lot, gentlemen.
Yes, we were.
Eric Sevareid, I wanted to ask you and Richard C. Hottelet, did you know, Eric, at the time of the first Allied bombing raid over the Rhine, that Dick was in a bomber flying toward Wesel?
He was up in, what, a B-17?
I was in a command fortress of the troop carrier command.
I was on the grounds, and I found out that he was in the neighborhood while I was trying to do a broadcast from the radio van, and he appeared in the rear entrance holding a vast wad of white silk, shouting at me to tell New York to put him on the air. He got on, he ruined my broadcast, but he got on the air.
You were one of the early broadcast pioneers. You were one of Ed Murrow's boys. Did you have a sense at that time, as you were almost literally there when broadcast journalism was born, did you have a sense of its potential then?
I didn't. I was so damn scared of the whole medium. It took me a while to grasp what was going on. I hadn't been back to the States for several years, and until I went back in the end of 40, I didn't get the impact of what we were doing. We were just talking at a piece of metal here. I never knew anybody heard it.
These people are too modest to say, but I can say, and Andy and Ernie and I can say, and we're the only ones I think who can say that.
Because you were working in print when they were working in broadcasting.
Print. These men made broadcast journalism what it is today. These men sitting at this table made it. The Murrow team made it. Nobody else was doing it. Nobody else had realized the potential. Murrow put together this team who were wordsmiths and could graphically on radio tell you what they were seeing. It was better in some ways than television today. Even as a good novel is sometimes better than the movie that's made out of it.
Because it was so descriptive. Because it was so descriptive.
It was descriptive. It had emotion. It had the realism of the event being there. You heard the background noises taking place, and these pioneers deserve, I think, some credit. That we got to build a memorial somewhere. I don't know.
We'll have more on tomorrow morning's CBS Morning News from the War Correspondents.
The CBS Morning News continues from London in a moment. It's now 22 minutes after the hour.